Let's time how long it takes for her to come back. Okay. Well, there's advantages and disadvantages to everything in life. Plus and minus. So something that is nice to do is take a subject matter and speak about it sequentially and develop it. That's the nice part. And then the challenging part is there's different audiences each successive evening. It took a minute and a half. So the topic that I've been discussing is from Canto 1 Srimad Bhagavatam, and it looks like there's a plan to have a Bhagavatam installation. Is that what this is?
Actually, my cousin bought one for his son.
Really? This is yours? Mm-hmm.
Yes.
You're going to be smart by the time you read all of this. You ready to get smart? Okay. Do you live in the neighborhood?
This neighborhood?
This neighborhood, yeah.
15 minutes away.
15 minutes away. There's a lot of Indian families in this neighborhood.
I think the entire Ashburn you'll see a lot of Indians around.
90%, I was told by the owner of this house. And the other 10% are Chinese. Because it's a celebrated good school district. Probably with really high taxes. But you're going to be the smartest kid on the block, even you don't live here, because you'll be reading Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay, so the passing of Grandfather Bhishma, Canto 1, Chapter 9. It's a little background, and then we'll bring you up to speed with where we've discussed kind of like a mini summary. Is that good?
Sorry. Yes, I'm good.
Do you need a
Because
chair?
more people will come, so that's why I'm saying like if they can move forward.
Do you need a chair? Okay. This is where we're being instructed. People sometimes come late to programs, so please move forward. Everybody that's here, those of you that are in the senior citizen row, you're fine. You can stay where you are. You're fine. You're fine. You're fine. Thank you very much. Okay. So Grandfather Bhishma, everybody here knows, they just say it negative. Is there anybody here who needs an introduction to who is Grandfather Bhishma? You know who is Grandfather Bhishma, right? No? Okay. You know who is Krishna, right? And Krishna had 5 cousin brothers called the Pandavas, right? And they were called Pandavas because they were sons of Pandu, who was the rightful heir to the throne. Pandu was to become the next king. And he died early when his sons were very young. But the firstborn son of Pandu, of the 5 brothers, his name was Yudhisthira. Yudhisthira. So Krishna's over here. Krishna, his father was Vasudeva. And the Pandavas' mother was Kunti, and Kunti and Vasudeva were brother and sister, so that meant they were cousins. You have some cousins, right? Okay. So brother and sister had children, and the children were cousins. So Krishna was the cousin of the Pandavas. And when Pandu died very early, when the boys were your age, grandfather of the Pandavas raised the children like a father. His name was Bhishma. So therefore he's called grandfather. Pita Maha. Pita means father. You've heard that, right? Pita. Pita Maha, the grandfather. Grandfather Bhishma. Grandfather Bhishma was a great warrior. His previous lifetime, he was in the demigod realm as a Vasu. Vasu is a category of powerful protectors of the demigods. Very powerful. Details, won't have to go into, but the details are, Vasu, D-Y-O, from Mahabharata, he became the son of Ganga. Another long Mahabharata story. Ganga had to also come to this world and take a human form, and she moved about the world in the human form. Ganga became the wife of Santanu. The first 7 children were placed by Ganga in the Ganga right after their birth, and the number 8th child, son of Santanu. Do you like stories like this? Good. Santanu and Ganga, the 8th child, was named Deva Vrata. Deva Vrata. And when Santanu, his father, because Ganga went away, so Santanu had the desire for a certain queen. It's another long Mahabharata story. But it was that she was the daughter of a fisherman, and the fisherman, when Santanu said, "I want to marry your daughter," woo, 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 the fisherman said, "No, I'm the king. Your daughter will become queen." He said, "No, my daughter got a benediction from Parshuram," that's part of the long story, that not only she would, instead of had this bad fishy smell that she smelled like before, she smelled like musk, very fragrant, but her son will become the king. But you're the king and you already have a son, Devavrata, who's going to become king. It's the law. He'll become the king. So, sorry, you can't marry my daughter. Goodbye. It was too late. Santanu was too much attached. Cupid's arrow hit him. Phew. Got to marry this girl. And then Devavrata, the son, saw his father was so sad and asked the ministers of the kingdom, why is dad so sad? He wants to marry this girl, and the fisherman's father said no. So Devavrata was curious. He went to the fisherman's father, the father of the fisherman, and said, "My father would like to marry your daughter, but I heard that you said no. So why did you say no?" He said, "Because my daughter has this benediction from Parashara Muni that her son will become king, and if my daughter marries your father, you'll become king, so I want my daughter to have her son as the king." So So the answer is no. He said, okay, tell you what, I'll make a vow, I won't become a king. He said, still the answer is no. Huh? Why is the answer no? Because if you marry and your son is born before my daughter's son is born, your son will become a king. He said, oh, that's easy. I'll take a vow. I'll never marry. I won't become king and I won't marry. For my whole life, I won't marry. And the fisherman said, okay, my daughter can marry your father. So it was done. Satyavati became married to Santanu, and for his life, Devavrata now became known as Bhishma. The sound came from the heavens, means great vow. Bhishma, great vow. So his father was powerful. Santanu said, I'm telling you this because it's important to the verse we're going to be reading this evening. His father said, Santanu said, what a qualified son. I'm blessed to have such a qualified son as you. I give you this benediction. You will not have to give up your body unless you so choose to give up your body. When you choose to give up your body, you can give up your body. So we're going to read this evening. He is going to choose to give up his body at will. Now, anybody that you know that can just leave their body at will, not like commit suicide, but just like, poop. Okay, bye everybody. Poop. We don't have that capacity. Bhishma was a very powerful soldier. He learned as a young boy, when he was raised by Ganga, she introduced the boy to Parshuram, and Parshuram became his teacher in military skill. Could you imagine being taught military skill by Parshuram? And then, incident without the detail, there was a conflict between the two, Parshuram and Bhishma, and Parshuram couldn't defeat him. Parshuram, chopper Parshuram, and he couldn't defeat him. Many days the battle was going on between the two because he was such a powerful warrior. And not only that, he was perfectly knowledgeable, because his mother had taught him when he was young, about Dharma. So he's one of our 12 great authorities. Who are the 12 great authorities? They're mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam by Vyasadeva, by Yamaraj. Yamaraj is one of those 12. Yamaraj is instructing his Yamadutas who the 12 are, because they want to know Dharma. We were stopped by the Vishnu Dutas when we tried to take a Jamil away, and they said, go back and learn some lessons from Yamaraj, because you don't know what Dharma is. You're going to represent Dharma Raj, you got to know what Dharma is. Go back and do some homework. You get an F in this exam. So, to explain to them what is Dharma, shh, don't say anything, do it very subtle. Another interruption. Go ahead, do it quickly. Just set it down. Thanks. Okay. In order to understand Dharma, you have to hear from one who knows Dharma. It's not just by reading books. You have to have association of one who knows Dharma, then you can learn Dharma. That's the rule. That's Krishna's rule. So one of those great authorities, according to Yamaraj, is Bhishma. So he was asked by Yudhishthira. Yudhishthira is the elder of the 5 brothers. Arjuna is number 3. His older brother is Bhima. And his older brother is Yudhishthira. So Yudhishthira has become the emperor of the world. This is after the Kurukshetra battle. He's been installed as the emperor of the world. And he's feeling despondent. This is the beginning of chapter 9. Feeling very sad. Why? So many people were killed during this battle. And he's feeling responsible. So, minus many details, a whole assembly of great personalities headed by the emperor of the world come to see grandfather Bhishma, to have grandfather Bhishma relieve Yudhishthira of his despondency. And he does it. Krishna's there too. Krishna tried and Krishna failed, so that his devotee Bhishma could be honored more than him. Krishna wanted that. So that's the way it happened. Bhishma pacified him, gave him wonderful teachings, beginning of chapter 9. Now, Yudhishthira's okay. You're indicating you're my grandfather. You raised us from childhood. And you're respected by all these great sages that are assembled here. I accept what you say. It's Krishna's plan. He wanted me to become the emperor. Now I have to do it. Because there's many persons that are requiring protection and leadership. So I got to do it. Can you tell me how I should do it? What are the standards by which I should be the emperor of the world? How I should carry out this duty? And there he is, lying on a bed of arrows, giving a Bhagavatam class. But Bhishma was in the mood of being the servant of everyone, and especially the Pandavas. And so he gave many teachings. In this 9th chapter, it's really distilled, essence-wise. In the Mahabharata, it's not distilled, it's very detailed. Shanti Parva of Mahabharata, Prabhupada makes reference to it, and other places in other Puranas. Grandfather Bhishma's instructions to Yudhishthira about the duties of a king, so that, a Kshatriya, if you ever want to be a Kshatriya and not a Donald Trump, then you can read Mahabharata and understand these are the duties of a ruler or a leader. It's very, very complete. And if you want to get the essences of it, which are very strong, powerful, sutra-like, it's here in the 9th chapter. And the purpose of all of that, of doing your duties, what's the purpose of Dharma? Purpose of Dharma. Satisfy Vishnu. Satisfy the personality of Godhead. It's not just be religious. It's not just be religious so that you can prosper in this life and go to heaven. Now that's a possibility if you don't know what the purpose is. But if you know what the purpose is, you can offer that as service to Krishna. Now Krishna creates so we heard in the previous verses, this is just summary, of the Varnashram system. Krishna speaks of it in Bhagavad Gita. Chatur Varnam Maya Shrishtam Guna Karma Vibhagasha. Krishna creates, it's a social structure system that Krishna creates. It's Krishna's system. It's really what the Vedas are about. It's not Hinduism. There's no such thing. In the Sanskrit text, it's Varnashram. This is those people who follow the Vedas. Their dharma is Varnashram dharma. It's not Hindu dharma. No such thing. say it a fifth time. No such thing. It's a foreign terminology to apply to people who are on the other side of the Indus River. Those people. They're the Hindus. They're on that side of the river. We're over here, we're the Muslims on this side of the river. Those are the Hindus, because they couldn't pronounce the vowel correctly. Oh, but it's followers of Varnashram. So it's abundantly expressed in Mahabharata. And there's other places in Srimad Bhagavatam where it's also indicated. So the purpose is to please Krishna. Yad karoshi, yad asnasi, yad jahosi dadasi, yad tapasyasi kaunteya, tat karashamadarpanam. Do things for the madarpanam, for the worship of Krishna. You offer your dutiful service for the pleasure of Krishna. That's the purpose. To help qualify you and to act according to your own psychophysical nature, Varnashram is there. Your occupation and your living situation. Where ashram, that is, for the purpose of spiritual cultivation, is at the center, pleasing Vishnu. So he describes the system, and the emphasis in the Bhagavatam is for the pleasure of Krishna. The emphasis in Mahabharata is what the duty is. The emphasis in the Bhagavatam is for the pleasure of Krishna. Because the goal of the Bhagavatam is to go back to Godhead. And the notion of duty is to go to heaven. You with me? It's an important distinction. It's not that Bhagavatam rejects or discards duty. It's the question of Maharaja Yudhishthira, what's my duty? It's the question of Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita, what's my duty? But the duty is to please Krishna. Sarva dharmam parityaja mamekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo moksha yishyami ma suchaha. In case you're worried, ma suchaha. Don't worry. Ma suchaha. As they say in Australia, no worries. Ma suchaha. No worries. That's the purpose. To come to that stage. Everything for Krishna. Everything that's offerable to Krishna for Krishna. Because there's some things that just aren't offerable to Krishna. So you leave those to the side, and things that are offerable to Krishna, you offer them to Krishna. Little boy needs somebody to help him. You need something? Is everything all right? Oh, he's just curious. Okay. So we ended yesterday evening with the coming of Makara Sankranti. You're all from India. There's nobody here that's not from India, or at least India background, so you all know what Makara Sankranti is. Do you know what Makara Sankranti is? You've heard of it? Okay. Would you like a lesson in astronomy? You like to learn, right? Okay. I'm having fun with my nice little boy. In the fifth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, listen carefully. In the fifth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, the speaker is Shukadev Goswami, right? And the person who's hearing is Maharaj Parikshit, right? So, Maharaj Parikshit says, I heard two different things that they sound contradictory. You said that the earth moves around the sun, and you said the sun moves around the earth. Sounds contradictory. Could you explain? He says it nicely. He doesn't say, you contradicted yourself. He doesn't say that. He said, to my ear, my little pea brain, it sounds contradictory. Sounds contradictory. Could you explain? So he says, yes. He gives an example. You know what? How to make a clay pot? Have you seen that? Oh, good. Okay. So imagine there's a potter's wheel, and it's moving really fast, zoom, zoom, in a clockwise direction. And there's an ant on the potter's wheel that's walking really slowly in a counterclockwise direction. So you can say, zoom, zoom, zoom. The ant is moving in a clockwise direction really fast. But you can also say that the ant is moving slowly in a counterclockwise direction. And both statements are correct. And both can be correct at the same time. Sounds childish, right? But it's explaining cosmology. Because, and here's the explanation. In addition to the movement of the earth, day and night is 24 hours. So the sun, in relation to the earth, moves from the east to the west. And in the course of 24 hours, it's one complete cycle. That's the potter's wheel. And simultaneously, the sun is moving very slowly, like the ant moving counterclockwise. So, very soon, it's now towards the end of May, very soon we're going to come, if you have one of these Apple Watches, you know that the sun is rising a little earlier and setting a little later until, what is it, June 24th or something like that? 21st? 21st? That's called, by solar calendar, the summer solstice. For those of us that are in the northern hemispheres, the reverse for those in the southern. But for the northern hemisphere, the days are longest June 21. And the nights are shortest. But then what happens is the sun, from the apex of its northern trajectory movement, it starts to move in a southerly direction. And then there's a time when the days and the nights are more equal. Equinox, it's called. And then the sun keeps moving down, 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 until it reaches the southernmost part, where the day, for those in the northern hemisphere, the days are shortest and nights are longest. And then when the sun starts moving again in the northern direction, that's Makara Sankranti. Read carefully in Bhagavad Gita chapter 8, and you'll find that yogis, those that do Dhyan Yoga chapter 6 type of yoga, if they want to go beyond the material realm, they calculate trying to leave their body sometime during that 6 months when the sun is moving in the northerly direction. So when Makara Sankranti came, which is some number of days after Bhagavad Gita was spoken. When was the Bhagavad Gita spoken? Gita Jayanti, right? And it's by lunar calculation, some number of days passed, lunar days passed, 18 of them, for the completion of the Kurukshetra battle, and then some days passed for the funeral ceremony and the coronation of Maharaj Yudhisthira, and then the sadness of Maharaj Yudhisthira, and they're coming to see Grandfather Bhishma. Now it's January 14th. The sun is going to start moving in a northerly trajectory. So that was the signal for Grandfather Bhishma to stop his Bhagavatam class and to get ready to leave his body at will. Because he was a devotee. If you read when you read chapter 8 of Bhagavad Gita very carefully, you will find that devotees don't have to observe that. It's a restriction for yogis that aren't devotees, but those who are devotees don't have to observe that. They can leave their body whenever. Because the principle of fixing your mind on Krishna supersedes the path of the sun. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam chajatante kalevaram. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam. Smaran is remembrance. Smaran bhavam. Whatever your mind is absorbed in, chajatante kalevaram. At the end of life, whatever the mind is fixed on, kalevaram, without fail, absolutely, that's where you're going. The mind will carry you to whatever that is. So the devotee is always fixed, their mind is always fixed on Krishna. Manmana, bhavamad bhakto. It's the first thing. Just like Maharaja Ambarish. Savaimana Krishna padar vindai. I just was hearing Prabhupada describe this in some conversation with Dr. Patel and Juhu at a morning walk. First, fix the mind, then engage in your practical activities of life. You're a doctor, but first fix your mind on Krishna. Then engage in your duties. And your duties should all be dedicated to Krishna. But first fix the mind. So Grandfather Bhishma's mind was fixed. He didn't need to wait for Makara Sankranti. But he was also great, powerful yogi, as kings of those times were also trained in the principles of yoga. But he was a gifted, pure devotee, and he was a mystic who knew the process of fixing his mind upon the form of the Lord in the heart. Now, he didn't need that either, because before him, Krishna is there, and he says it in an earlier verse. Because you're so kind to your devotee, proof, you've come so I can see you when I'm leaving the body and go to the spiritual world. So that's where he's bound. He's a Vaikuntha Vasi. Now, Mahabharata says he went back to his position as a Vasu, as what happened with his other 7 brothers. But Bhagavatam says he was Vaikuntha bound, because he's a pure devotee. That's where pure devotees go. They go to the abode of their worshipable master, Krishna. But he is fond of the form of Krishna as Vishnu. This is Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's explanation. He's looking at Krishna, describing, you are the soul of all souls. The super soul is within the heart, and here before us, Yudhisthira, you think he's your cousin, he's your minister, he's your friend, this and that. Yudhisthira, he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, Yudhisthira knows that, but he has an affection for Krishna, like, a cousin, and Krishna's treating him as the emperor, and so on. It's because it's pleasing to Krishna. And Grandfather Bhishma, he's super soul. Kunti says the same thing in her prayers 1 chapter earlier. But he's covering people, even his own devotees, he's covering with his Maya potency, his illusory potency, so they forget his divinity and interact with him as their nephew or their cousin or their friend or their... And Krishna likes that more, so they do it. Even they know. They do it because they like, Krishna likes it. That's everything for them, is what Krishna likes, that's what I want. But Bhishma is, he's the personality of Godhead. He sees him in his four-armed form. That's, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that Bhishma had a mantra that he chanted. Doesn't say what the mantra is, but it includes seeing the personality of Godhead in his Vasudev feature. Vasudev is the same feature that Krishna was born in the prison house of Kamsa. The Vasudev feature is four-armed with the symbols of Vishnu in a certain position. Vasudev. So that's how Bhishma saw him. He knew he was the super soul within, moving around amongst us as if he's one of us, for his pleasure, deluding us with his potency. He says very few people actually understand. Narada understands, Shiva understands, a few very special people understand. They understand to some degree, because you can't understand completely because he's unlimited and we're limited. But they understand to some degree, but his intention they don't understand. It's inexplicable. But you can understand to some degree his intention by the results, just like you're the emperor. Krishna wants you to be the emperor. You didn't want to be the emperor. But Krishna wanted you to be the emperor, so be the emperor. So, he's finished his Bhagavatam class, and now we'll continue. Oh, that was background for those of you that were with us, and so you can know something about Grandfather Bhishma. And he's now going to depart. And it's slow motion. He doesn't just like, poof, he's gone. It gives the steps, step by step by step, of how that takes place. Text 29, chapter 9. While Bhishmadev was describing occupational duties, Dharma, the sun's course ran into the northern hemisphere. This period is desired by mystics who die at their will. Prabhupada's purport. The perfect yogis or mystics can leave the material body at their own sweet will at a suitable time and go to a suitable planet desired by them. In Bhagavad Gita, chapter 8, text 24, it is said that the self-realized soul who exactly identifies themselves with the interest of the Supreme Lord can generally leave the material body during the time of the fire god's effulgence and when the sun is in the northern horizon, and thus achieve the transcendental sky. In the Vedas, these times are considered auspicious for quitting the body, and they're taken advantage of by expert mystics who have perfected the system. Perfection of yoga means attainment of such supermental states as to be able to leave the material body as desired. Yogis can also reach any planet within no time without a material vehicle. The yogis can reach the highest planetary system within a very short time, and this is impossible for the materialist. Even attempting to reach the highest planet will take millions of years at the speed of millions of miles per hour. This is a different science, and Bhishmadev knew well how to utilize it. He was just waiting for the suitable moment to quit his material body, and the golden opportunity arrived when he was instructing his noble grandsons, the Pandavas, he thus prepared himself to quit his body before the exalted Lord Sri Krishna, the pious Pandavas, and the great sages headed by Bhagavan Vyasa, etc. All great souls. So, in the beginning part of the chapter, for two reasons, there's a long list of who's who that came to see Grandfather Bhishma. Parashuram, Vyas, Shukadev Goswami, Gautama, Devala, Asita, and on and on and on. Many, many, many. Vishishta, many persons, and all their followers. They wanted to hear him speak Dharma to Maharaj Yudhishthira, and they also wanted to create auspiciousness at the time of his departure. So they were all there, observing all of this. Text 30. Thereupon, that man who spoke on different subjects with thousands of meanings and who fought on thousands of battlefields and protected thousands of men stopped speaking, and being completely free from all bondage withdrew his mind from everything else and fixed his wide open eyes upon the original personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, who stood before him four-handed, because Krishna was showing the form that he liked. That's what Krishna does. In yellow garments that glittered and shined. Now there's a very detailed purport with a list of 15 items. There are verses from chapter 8 Bhagavad Gita, attaining the Supreme, and these are things that are lessons that Krishna is speaking in Bhagavad Gita that are important to attain the Supreme. Because I spent so much time giving this background on Grandfather Bhishma and so forth, I'm not going to read it, although I'd like to, but I'd like you to read it. Those of you that have Bhagavatam in your home, before you take rest, read text 30, chapter 9, canto 1, and it's just, you'll sleep well tonight. And if you don't have a Bhagavatam set in your home, you can find out how through, an app you can find Vedabase and read it in your little handheld device. Everybody knows that. I don't know how to do it, but everybody else knows how to do it. Very simple. I'll just read the last three. Number 12. The yogic situation is that of detachment from all sensual engagements, closing all the doors of the senses, and fixing the mind on the heart, and the life hair at the top of the head one establishes himself in yoga. 13. After being situated in this yoga practice and vibrating the sacred syllable Om, the supreme combination of letters, if one thinks of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and quits his body, he will certainly reach the spiritual planets. 14. For one who remembers me without deviation, this is summary, kind of really simple paraphrased description of these verses of chapter 8. For one who remembers me without deviation, I am easy to obtain, O son of Pritha, because of his constant engagement in devotional service. And last, after attaining me, the great souls who are yogis in devotion never return to this temporary world, which is full of miseries, because they have attained the highest perfection. And then the last paragraph. Sri Bhishmadev attained the perfection of quitting his body at will, and was fortunate enough to have Lord Krishna, the object of attention, personally present at the time of death. He therefore fixed his open eyes upon him. He wanted to see Sri Krishna for a long time out of his spontaneous love for him. Because he was a pure devotee, he had very little to do with the detailed performance of yogic principles. Simple bhakti yoga is enough to bring about perfection. Therefore, the ardent desire of Bhishmadev was to see, in italics, the person of Lord Krishna, the most lovable object. And by the grace of the Lord, Sri Bhishmadev had this opportunity at the last stage of his breathing. So now, the verses that follow describe the Pratyahara process. What's that? So, yoga has become popular, yoga classes. And for anybody that hears the word yoga, most of the people that hear the word yoga these days, they think of the asana aspect. And maybe some persons, yoga classes, they teach pranayama. So that's two. They skip the yama and niyama, and they just go to asanas and pranayama. But the purpose of the pranayama, keeping it really simple, the asanas and pranayama are to align the body and help the mind become more steady. Because when prana, or the life airs, are in imbalance, the mind is mad or disturbed or easily agitated. And when the mind, life airs, are in proper order, even with great disturbance, the mind doesn't become disturbed. Now that's the mechanical process. And when the mind becomes more steady and undisturbed, then comes the next. What's that? Pratyahara. And that's what Bhishmadev is going to be doing. He is, instead of extending his senses into the field of activity, the world, for service, the yogi, in this case Bhishma, who knows the art, he's withdrawing his senses. It's not like his arms pop into his body or something, but the subtle sense, instead of going out in the form of service to Krishna, it's being consolidated within. That's Pratyahara. So the mind is peaceful, now it's becoming very concentrated. So what's going on outside, you're not really such a yogi, it's not paying attention to it because his attention is within. And he's able to sustain that because he did this asanas and pranayama properly. So it's sequential. And then there's three stages that follow that. Dhyan, Dharana, and Samadhi. And chapter 6 describes Dhyan Yoga, and it describes Samadhi. And do devotees need to do those things? Well, Prabhupada didn't teach us to do those things, and Krishna doesn't instruct Arjuna to do those things. Arjuna says, impossible, I can't do this. But it's possible. The Bhakti process makes it possible that all of those things become achieved by the Bhakti process. Doesn't mean we don't need to make effort to control the mind. We need to make effort to control the mind, say it positively. But how the mind gets controlled in the Bhakti process is by bringing the mind to Krishna. And especially the name of Krishna and the literary form of Krishna. Not in a speculative or a challenging or a blindly accepting manner, but in the spirit. Jigyasu means inquisitive. I want to know. That's all. I want to know. I want to know Krishna. Or I want to know what I don't know. I know that I know that there's a higher reality, and I know that I don't know the details of that higher reality, but I want to know. That's all. And then here. And everything else comes sequentially. Don't slacken in the I want to know department. Don't become complacent. Okay. I'm good. As they say these days, I'm good. Okay, so I relax and enjoy the fruits of my hard work. And I'm taking a little vacation from hard work. We don't take a vacation from devotional service. The striving to connect with Krishna through this bhakti process, it starts with hearing and chanting, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, then Smaranam. That's the samadhi. So, we're going to hear, if you go further, he does the Pratyahara program. He knows how to do it, and he does it. And then but all the while, his mind is upon Krishna, and he's withdrawing his senses from the Bhagavatam class and all of the other great activities that his life represented. In service to the Pandavas and in service to everyone. That stage will come. At least the opportunity for that stage will come. Departing from this world is something we'll all have the pleasure to undergo. And life is a preparation for that. Ante Narayana Smriti. At the end, Prabhupada used this phrase, there's training for a pilot on the ground. It's simulated this and that, but eventually the pilot has to fly his own plane. All the training is for getting the pilot seat and flying the plane. So Prabhupada was saying, similarly, at the end, we have to fly our own plane. Or he said, I don't know what the phrase is in Bengali, but there's a saying that all of your practices will be tested at the time of death. Sometimes devotees have a health crisis. I was having a discussion yesterday with Lokadyaksha. And he didn't nearly die, but he became immobilized for some time. Without the detail. I'm sure many of you know. So, when you have a health crisis, things that you normally take for granted, they just don't work. I had the experience of malaria, a little mosquito. I remember the guy who was in Vrindavan, in the Fogel ashram. The guy bit me, or whatever, drew blood or something. And I thought, uh-oh. And sure enough, I got malaria. And when you have malaria, one of the things that happens is that your mind doesn't focus. So I was told, I have to do two things, like take Misri and drink lots of water. So I was drinking lots of water and taking Misri. And I was staying in the very clearly remember this as I'm speaking it. One of the guest houses is the Krishna Balaram Mandir. So there's a place where I was lying down, and then over there is the bathroom. And I couldn't focus my mind enough to get up and walk across the room and go to the bathroom, although my bladder was bursting because I was drinking all this water. And the little light went on. Wow. I mean, you just take for granted. Your mind says, okay, legs, take some steps and go over there to the bathroom because your bladder's bursting. Even the call of nature, I couldn't focus my mind on properly. You kind of take it for granted, and when it's not there. So death is like that. Things that, old age, it's kind of slowly things are taken and then gone. And we're all going to be there. So what are we doing to prepare for that? It's just not like a scare tactic thing. It's just a reality of one day. And it's not comfortable either. Generally, it's painful. Now, how are we going to rise above the pain and not scream or keep our mind on Krishna? And it can happen gradually, or it can happen suddenly, or who knows? It's not up to us. So the regular hearing of Srimad Bhagavatam helps bring the mind to Krishna, manmana, bhavamad bhakto. That's the design of it. It's such a sound vibration. And by hearing about Grandfather Bhishma, it's as good as hearing about Krishna. Same as the message in chapter 7 of this first canto. Krishna Katha is hearing about the Pandavas. Krishna Katha is hearing about Bhishma. Krishna Katha is hearing about Krishna and Krishna's devotees, pure devotees. It's the same. And the design of it is such that it's to elevate our consciousness to Krishna. Even in Kali Yuga. Specifically for people who are victims of the age of Kali, subjected to the perils of bad association that comes from the Kali Yuga. So our young friend here, may you be protected by Krishna, by the becoming immersed in the sound vibration of Srimad Bhagavatam. That's protection of your dependent children. Couldn't have a better feature than immersion in Srimad Bhagavatam. That's real protection. And character development. And linguistic skills too. It has, everything is there. Okay, so any discussion? This is a nice space, by the way. A lot of people can fit in, and nobody has to be too far away. Because it goes like this nice V shape. It's really good. I don't know if they designed it with that in mind, but good space. Discussion. Anything.
Prabhu?
Yeah.
Thank you for the nice lecture. The question might sound idiotic, but I want to know what actually means by bhakti.
What it means.
And why Krishna likes it.
Okay. Simple. What it really is bhakti is a definition is given by Rupa Goswami in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, or Nectar Devotion. You ready?
Yeah.
You like Sanskrit or English?
Whatever.
Okay. Anyavilasha tushunyam jnana karma dhyanavitam anukulyena krishnanu shilanam bhaktir uttama. That's what bhakti is. So, because the book is about bhakti, this verse is a definition of what is bhakti, and all the other verses are embellishments on this one verse. What is bhakti? It's your question. So, it starts with saying what bhakti is not, because a good definition is exclusive as well as inclusive. So it's not speculation in fruitive activities, or even the desire to know through speculation or the desire to become the enjoyer through fruitive activities is devoid of those things. They're absent. Shunyam. Abhilas means desire or hankering or wish. Anya abhilash shunyam. Jnanakarmadya navritam. So that's what it isn't. That's the exclusive part. And then what it is. Da-da-da-da. Anukulyena Krishna Anushilanam. Tomorrow I'm going to Gitanagari farm community in Pennsylvania for a seminar on empathic communication or nonviolent communication. So part of compassionate or empathic communication is you care about compassion, you care about the other person. So who's the other person? Their spirit soul. And how to get to bhakti is from the platform of I'm spirit soul, and the purpose of my activities, that's the body and the mind, the moving parts, shilanam, that's behavior or conduct. Then there's the non-moving part, that's my deep conviction. So what's that? Anukul means that which is pleasing to or favorable to Krishna. Anukulyena Krishna Anushilanam. Bhakti is cultivation of activities, the moving ones, the body and the mind, those are the moving ones, in such a manner that Krishna will be pleased. I'm cultivating like that because so I may not be there yet, but sadhana is I'm cultivating that, and I'm cultivating that according to the codes of scripture, shastra, Guru Sadhu Shastra, that guides me how to conduct my life. But it's not just the behaviors, it's the consciousness behind the behaviors that I want Krishna to be pleased. But I'm not going to, so now go back to the first part, I'm not going to try to understand who is Krishna by speculation. I'm not going to try to do my duties so that I get some punya points, so that I can become a better enjoyer of the fruits of my pious activities, and that's why I'm doing, that's not bhakti. Bhakti is shuddha, free from those things. One thing, Krishna is to be pleased. And all my activities of life, inside and outside, private and public, it's one thing, Krishna is to be pleased. And I'm cultivating like that, according to the guidelines given by scripture and great souls. That's what bhakti is. Now why does Krishna like it? Because it makes us happy.
I know why.
Krishna wants us happy. Krishna doesn't need anything.
Yeah.
But he's loving and he doesn't want to see us struggling and suffering in la la land. He wants us to be happy. So that's why Krishna likes it.
So after coming into this, I chant 16 rounds, I read books, I do fasting and everything.
Good.
Is that bhakti?
Those are behaviors of bhakti. That's not the essence of bhakti. We don't trash the behaviors, but it's not that the essence is not behaviors. The essence is connecting those behaviors to pleasing Krishna. The essence is the desire to please Krishna, and then the behaviors flow from that. But it may be easier, or initially it'll help align us to the pleasing Krishna position to conduct our behaviors according to an indication of scripture. but the essence is not the behaviors. Clear, right?
No, I'm sorry.
No? The essence is the intention, sankalpa. Right? You know that word.
Yes.
The intention behind why we're doing. It's to please Krishna. That's bhakti. It includes those behaviors, the ones you mentioned. Those behaviors help. I'm calling them behaviors. It's also devotional service. But the behavior aspect of devotional service, and it helps one align body, mind, and heart to the essence of bhakti, which is anukulyena Krishna anushilanam. It helps us align ourselves from the heart to that position. Krishna should be pleased.
So
Keep going.
What do I need to do next?
Well, you're doing, what you need to do is recognize those, this is preparatory. This is preparing my heart to awaken that forgotten desire to be in my relationship with Krishna always. And that relationship with Krishna is loving service. So be aware that those activities are preparing the awakening of that consciousness. And that's the essence. The relationship with Krishna. Consciousness. That's what's next.
Thank you.
Keep going. It's not like you need to do something else. Because that's,
The big concern I have is, even after doing this, I'm doing everything that is
Good.
example,
Good.
but still sometimes I feel like I'm doing it mechanically or...
Well,
I'm
welcome to the
doing it-
club.
It's been quite some time, but I have not developed any...
No, don't say
No.
any. Don't say any.
I'm not happy. I'm not
yeah,
developed
so-
any love.
Don't say, I haven't developed any. Because even to get to the point of asking the question you're asking, it's progress from where you were, whatever you were doing before you started these practices. Now, is there something, so it's not something additional that you need to do, it's the connect with your heart step. And we're so much, our modern conditioning especially is head and not transformation of heart. I'll say it, same thing in a very explicit way. So maybe 8-9 years ago, in India, in Delhi, there was a conference for education because they realized that they weren't adequately doing education in India. So the keynote speaker said, in India today, education can be summarized in 5 words. Information, 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 no transformation. We're failing. Because real education is transformation. So, we're trained up. We get rewarded. It's our career to be information technology people. No transformation. Just, anyway, so real education is character development. It's right in this Bhagavatam, right? Just exactly, what Bhishma was saying. Student life. So we haven't even started student life yet because we're still in the information stage. So the transformation is, The fact that you're not feeling happy, the fact that you're feeling these behaviors are somewhat mechanical, that's our conditioning. We're trained up to do that. No transformation. So we have, that pain, that feeling of dissatisfaction, Vyasadeva felt. Welcome to the club, the Vyasadeva club. So what did Narada say to Vyas, his spiritual master? You get an A in your exam, you compiled the Vedas, you did everything, you're doing all the practice, you're doing great. But there's one thing it's insufficient that you need to pay attention to. It's not a behavior, it's where your attention goes. Glorify Krishna. Connect your heart to Krishna. There's a whole Saturday morning, it's going to be broadcast. If you don't come, tune in. We're going to speak about this point that you're asking for an hour and a half. And the discussion that ensues from the heart instead of mechanical. It's not a vending machine. I go to the machine, I see what I want, I put in the coins and pull the lever, and down the chute comes the bhakti. It's not a vending machine. Not a mechanical process. We approach it mechanically because that's how we're trained. We have to move to the heart instead of just the head, information part.
But it is not taught anywhere. Like you're saying.
Well,
we keep listening in the lectures that chant, fast, read books. This is what everybody says.
Well, some people say the other part too. It's not like I say the other part too. It's not like we don't do those things. We do those things. But what's the purpose behind them? It's the definition that Rupa Goswami gives of nectar devotion, of this whole big book. Anukulyena Krishna Anushilanam. It's right there. Or here's another one. There are 6 principles. This is Nectar of Instruction. You've heard of that book?
Yes.
Okay. So one of the Shadbir Bhaktir Vinashati, that bhakti is vinash, it's destroyed, is not following rules and regulations, or just following rules and regulations without understanding the purpose behind them. The sankalpa, the intention. What's the intention? If you don't know the intention, Shadbir Bhakti Vinashati. It's right there. So we're busy reading the information part and not the transformation part. So you can blame it on your conditioning, but it's there. And maybe the teachers are teaching the behavior part and not sufficiently the transformation part. But some people have a hard time even following the procedures. They can't control their senses enough to. So that's important also. But it's incomplete. It's insufficient. It doesn't leave the heart satisfied, as you're pointing out. Doesn't mean you put it in the dumpster. You don't do that. It's important. Okay. Yes.
But this question keeps coming up in the groups like this. You also were mentioning about
This question that he's asking?
The question I'm going to ask about. You mentioned about Bhishmadev's description being given in Mahabharata is slightly different from what's in the Srimad Bhagavatam, particularly the destination that he attains. So typically the question that comes up is why there is the difference between...
I explained it twice. I don't mind explaining it again tonight.
And what is the proper way of understanding or reconciling the apparent differences in this?
Easy. lower court, higher court. It's a very simple metaphor. The Srimad Bhagavatam is the Vedas are Shabda Pramana. Pramana means evidence, or the means of knowing something. Pramana. And the source is sound, Shabda Pramana. And then there's another adjective, Aparusheya Shabda Pramana. Aparusheya means beyond the fallibility of a human being. Because humans are fallible. And anything we generate is going to be fallible because we generated it because we're fallible. So it's a Aparusheya Shabda Pramana. So a part of that pramana is conduct. Achar. What you do, behavior. Good conduct. So Mahabharata is emphasizing that. And those that do good conduct have a certain destination. Urdvam gachanti sattvasta. They go up. Urdvam. By situated in sattvasta, urdvam. You go to heaven. Majje tishtanti rajasa arho gachanti tamasa. So that's one part of this pramana. And man can't make up, what's Dharma. God gives what's Dharma, and you do what God says, and then it's just a dictionary definition. Very simple one. What's religion? Laws of God. And a religious person is one who follows the laws of God. You're a law-abiding citizen, you're protected by the government. You're a law-breaking citizen, you're put in jail. That's the worldly. So Mahabharata gives emphasis to Dharma, that kind. Codes of conduct, Mano Samhita, the behaviors for the human society. How to live in this world in a way that it's dharmic. And then there's the Supreme Court that says the purpose of that dharma is to please Krishna. So that's Bhagavad Gita. Sarva dharmam pranyaja. What? Mamekam sharanam vraja. And then the Bhagavatam expands from there. So the purpose of the Dharma is to qualify one, not just to go to heaven, to be a fit person according to your ashram, according to your occupation, that's pleasing to Krishna. And the Bhagavatam gives that emphasis. And so, thus the distinction between going to heaven and going to Vaikuntha. What does Bhagavad Gita say? Bhagavatam just expands what Bhagavad Gita says. Abrahma bhuvana loka punar arvarta norjana. One should not aspire for even Brahmaloka, what to speak of heaven, because therein repeated birth and death take place. You go to heaven, you stay for some time, right in Bhagavad Gita. Kshine punya marcha lokam vishanti. You come back down again. You exhaust your pious merit, you come back down again. Take birth in Virginia. A nice neighborhood. Go to a good school. Learn how to play video games and information technology and get a good job. And so beyond elevation to higher planetary region is beyond the cycle of birth and death. And that's the emphasis of Bhagavatam. I can give Dharma Shahi Apavargasya, Canto 1, Chapter 2. Dharma is for one purpose, Apavarga. Apavarga means liberation. The purpose of Dharma is liberation. It should never be performed for getting prosperity through pious credits. It should never be performed for that reason. That's the Bhagavatam. No, lots of people do piety. Not lots of people. In general language, or all around the world, not just people that are followers of the Vedas. Why do they follow? I've done surveys to find out. It's true, all over the world. That I've my little survey experiments. People in general think the purpose of religion is 1, 2, 3. No. In general, people think. Just listen. I'm going to say, you do activities that are pious so that you can earn in this life pious credits, so that in this life you can prosper, and the next life you go to heaven. In general, that's what people think. Krishna says in chapter 2 Bhagavad Gita, and it's true. Most people think like that. Say it again. Pious activities, following a religion, is to get pious credit so that you get pious merit so that you can prosper in this life and go to heaven in the next life. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the purpose, and there's nothing more than that. Krishna says. Most people think there's nothing more than that. And then he goes right on to say there's something more than that. And that's what Bhagavatam is teaching. But a lot of people aren't even religious. So they need instructions how to be religious. What's proper conduct? Don't do this and do that. No, I offer my food to Krishna. Yeah. Just back to your question about the behavior thing. I don't want to dwell on it. We went. Anyone else out there? Yes.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. Wonderful class. I have one question, follow up on what Prabhu said. Like bhakti culminates in the I was listening I heard in another class that bhakti results in good character.
Yes.
So do we all these things that all the activities like you said we do, chanting,
yes,
fasting,
yes,
would they automatically result into good character, or efforts from our side?
I think I understand your question. Which comes first, the cart or the horse? Which comes first? The good character comes first, or the practice of bhakti, and then you just practice bhakti nicely and the good character will come? One can say it either way, but here's my understanding. The foremost, the horse is bhajana kriya, and that pulls the cart. So it's our devotional practices. But when you engage in devotional practices, what does it mean? No, this is the non-mechanical devotional practices. What does it mean? I want to please Krishna. So here I am, I'm chanting, and I'm reading. Awakening is this already existing dormant desire, I want to please Krishna. And I look at myself and I go, yuck. There are some things inside here that I didn't even know were there till I started chanting Hare Krishna and practicing bhakti. There's anarthas in the heart. And I don't want to come before Krishna unclean. So, Krishna, you're the giver of all good qualities. Krishna, please help me. I want to please you. So Krishna sees, oh, he wants to please me. Let me decorate this devotee with good qualities. So the horse is the bhajana kriya, the nicely performed devotional practices, which awakens the desire to please Krishna. And then we give attention to the cultivation of good qualities because it's pleasing to Krishna. And when Krishna sees he or she wants this because they want to please me, he decorates that devotee with a good quality. The example given in the Bhagavatam is a mirror. When you decorate your face in the mirror, your own face is being decorated. Right? You're putting on a tilak. You're looking at the mirror, you're not looking at your face, but you're looking at the mirror. But your face is being decorated. So similarly, when we render devotional service, I've been chanting for some time, and now, coming up is Krishna Janmashtami, and I'm starting to think, what's a nice service I can do for Madan Mohan and Krishna Janmashtami? That's a bhakti desire to please Krishna. And then Krishna gives some ability and some intelligence and some inspiration in reciprocation with your desire that you want to serve him. And this is a good, and so becomes a good. But maybe I'm not paying proper attention to this other Prabhu over there that wants to serve Madan Mohan in a different way. So I have to refine myself. So it's actually pleasing to Madan Mohan and not just ignoring this other devotee that also wants to please. So good qualities evolve, but we have to cultivate them. But the horse is, I want to please Krishna. That awakens from properly performed devotional activity. So it's not just one to the exclusion of the other. We try to cultivate good qualities because it's pleasing to Krishna, because that's what we want, to please Krishna. And I have some not very good qualities. I have some bad ones. I have some shortcomings and some faults, some doshas. And I like to get free from them. So I have to depend on Krishna for that. It's not just automatically. It's not mechanical. It's devotional. I want to please Krishna. I mean, very simple. You stand in the shower, you don't just stand in the shower. I'm standing in the shower. You take soap and you rub and get clean. Stand in the shower, and that's and then the effort that we make while we're standing in the shower. That's part of the cleansing. The effort is to want to please Krishna by offering suitable quality before him, and Krishna smiles. It's the end of chapter 12, Bhagavad Gita. You'll see. Read. And Krishna, you don't get the quality separate from Krishna, but we have to want to please Krishna with those good qualities, and then he decorates his devotees with qualities. It's both. Are we done? Yes?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So one question on the transformation.
Keep going.
So the transformation of heart. So we read that unless we are pure in our bhakti, we cannot go back to Godhead. Like we have to do the Vaidhi bhakti, and then we get the transformation of our heart, and all the anarthas are gone, and then only we can think about going back to Godhead. But
Well, we can think about it.
As a grihastha, it seems
It's a big mountain.
it's the most difficult task, because in one way, when we are associating with devotees, we think that we may be making some progress. But the moment we are out in the world, associating with non-devotees, or working or doing other stuff, it kind of feel like puts us a step back.
I'm listening.
So it's in one way you're trying to progress, but in another way, because you're associating with non-devotees and associating with worldly-minded people, you're taking a step back. In one way, step up, and one way, step back. So how do we get purity in that kind of environment?
Well, that's to borrow a phrase, the art of living. It's it's not just so that you feel better. It's not just because you're householder. It's the embodied soul. The householder has its challenges. Try being a sannyasi for a while, it has its challenges. So, best that we take a path that we move on in life that suits our nature, and so grahastha is a path that suits your nature, that therefore you're grahastha. And it's not challenge-free, but the challenges are met by proper execution of the duties of the grahastha. There's means of purification as grahastha, including giving association to non-devotees. So you're in the workplace, and you're associating, or wherever, the kids are in school, and associating with non-devotees. And even there's kids that are in school that are associating with devotee friends, and sometimes the devotee friends are not, of the right standard. So then, that's another any way you turn, you expect more of devotees, and then some other devotee kids or some other devotee adults are not of the best character, and so what to do? Inwardly you cultivate and take the position as a student or grahastha or sannyasi or person in the world, that I'm meant to be an instrument of Krishna's pleasure. So here I am in the workplace, and there's all these people. Read Bhaktivinoda Thakur's writing, because he really carefully describes the answer to your question for householders specifically, because he was a householder. He understood the perils. In short, carry in your heart the desire to give remembrance of Krishna to these forgetful people. They're in the condition of suffering and the behaviors that they're doing because of forgetfulness of Krishna. So how can I be an instrument to help them remember Krishna? And you may not be able to do it because of the circumstance of profession, etc., etc. But if you're carrying that in your heart, you're protected from unwholesome association. And Krishna will open doors for you can, without giving examples, but it happens. But at least you're protected, because the intention is, let me give Krishna. Let me somehow, Krishna, I'm sitting down in my office, Savai Mana Krishna Padaravindayo. You've brought me here. I'm here for the duties of my ashram. And there must be some way that I can be your instrument here in the workplace. So please give me the intelligence and the opportunity how I can be your instrument. And just carrying that bhakti, you're protected, and opportunities will be that the door will open that you didn't even see before. It happens. No, it doesn't mean that the toxicity diminishes because you have this instrument of Krishna consciousness that you're carrying. You have to still take toxin precaution, without detailing. And that's the art of work. You do what you're doing for Krishna, and that consciousness protects you from the unwholesome association. I think we'll take one more question, and then we're going to end because it's already late. Oop, 9 o'clock.
Maharaji, I have a question, at the workplace.
Usually it's parenting. That's the one that gets the most attention. Questions. Go ahead.
What happens is we are into different companies, and our companies might be into different things. Say for an example, our company might be into something which is not as per the Vaishnava,
Sure.
Vaishnava path. Say for example, if you are working for a food store, right? It might be selling meat,
Yeah.
it might be selling some other things which we
Yeah.
don't recommend, right?
Yeah.
And our work might involve, like to smoothen that particular process, to so that, the whole meat thing kind of comes up very nicely from the farm to the plant to the
Yeah, yeah,
store,
yeah.
right? And being into a kind of situation, like you have to kind of do it because you're part of the team, you are into that particular technical team, you have to do it, right? So in those type of situations, I don't know how to do it because
I don't either. The only answer that I have kind of directionally is there's three. Just you have to bear the consequences. You're not exonerated from the consequences of what you just described. I'm just part of the team, I got to do it. You're not exonerated because you're just, you took that position. So that's, you're going to have to bear the consequences. That's one position. Another is, in those who are in charge of, depending upon the company, if there's somebody that's sensitive to your values, they can exempt you from those activities and give you some other activities. Then a third option is leverage your career path gradually, not abruptly or impulsively or radically, in the direction of something that is not going to be involved in that kind of activity. It may take, a few years, may take a decade, but move away from that, career trajectory-wise, from that to something that doesn't involve that.
are you kind of suggesting, in the meanwhile we have to kind of live with the guilt of doing it?
Well,
At the same time.
not live with not just guilt, it's the karma.
Karma, yeah.
It's not just guilt.
Yeah, the guilt as well as the karma which
Yes.
we might face in the future.
Yes, yes. You're responsible for your actions. Choices were made when you were younger that didn't have necessarily the same values that you have today. And there you are. Now, if you're actively moving away from that, it mitigates, the consequences. But yes, I'm just being honest. I mean, I don't think it's because you chant Hare Krishna. It's it's good. Don't worry. Here's an example. On this note, somebody that I knew from when she was a little girl. I used to visit one of the IITs in India, and there was a little girl. And then I met her father was a professor at that place. Then I met her when she was in grad school, and she confided, "I'm finding that I'm compromised. I have to do animal testing." And it's what's the animal testing? It's killing rats with something that's, to see if, the immunity and da-da-da-da-da. So I know it's bad. So what do I do? She didn't join that study program thinking she's going to end up having to do animal testing and killing rats. But that's what she has to do. So I said, same to you, I'm saying to you. There's probably somebody in your supervisory capacity can help you do things where you're not having to test the rats, but you do something on the computer and you do something. You're not directly involved in that.
I'm just doing stuff on the computer. I'm not going to the plant. I'm not doing nothing and anything.
But you're supporting that activity.
It's all like a supply chain, right?
Okay, but without going through the detail,
Yeah.
if you're involved in that which the company is involved in,
Yeah.
there's some implication. It's not the same as chopping,
Yeah.
but you're involved.
Yeah.
And they couldn't do it without your being involved. They couldn't do it at the same scale without your being involved.
Correct.
So you're, move from that position. Not abruptly, not radically, don't put your career at risk, but find a way. And you start to look for a way, and doors open. May take a while. Some other type of company. Now, it's hard to find something that's not dirty. It's clean. It's hard to find it. Okay. Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai. Peacefulness of Maharaja ki. Jai.